child, and my friend thought that he would be the perfect horse for me. She said, if you have this horse that's your problem child, that your troubled soul that you have to solve, maybe you will stop dating men that are troubled souls. But that hasn't worked so far.
That hasn't worked. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your kinky friends. Everything we talk about today is consensual. It's between consenting adults. This is a lifestyle. This is a culture. We are here with a magnificent legend. Oh, yes. Please welcome. Bow down. Seriously, show utmost respect and bow down to Goddess Viktoria Sway.
Thank
How
you.
are you? What's going on?
I'm well. It's great. Here I am chatting with you.
We're going to talk about horses. We're going to talk about hockey. We're going to talk about being a dominatrix in NYC and healing through kink and teaching and everything like that. But let's just start it off.
Sure.
Goddess Viktoria Sway, what's inspiring you these days?
What is inspiring me? I think for a few years I got pretty focused and heavy into looking at the psychology of BDSM and how BDSM can help and heal people with both trauma and then also just understanding themselves and their shame better. And recently, within the past 6 months, infusing a bit more of the hot sexiness back into that play, and maybe not taking it quite so seriously is the current shift.
Right on. I love that. I absolutely love that. Let's talk. Well, we're going to talk about that in a second, but let's just open up. A lot of dominatrixes have specialties, yet some are what I call Jacqueline of all trades, Right. But then you have people like Mommy Peach who specializes in diapers, or Chastity Queen who specializes in chastity.
Super specialized, right?
Yeah. What would you say do you have any specialties, or do you?
I do. Because I don't think that you can be very successful in New York City if you don't have a niche, because people have so many choices here of who they can go see, and they'll select for a person who's an expert in what they like. I think if you're in probably pretty much any other city in the country, you can generalize more. So when I came here, that was one of the things I really had to figure out what I wanted my voice to be. And for me, using BDSM as a vehicle for people to learn more about themselves, learn about their shadow, and get to know themselves better, have an authentic, find their authentic voice. That's, I would say, a psychological specialty. As far as actual activities, that's a different answer.
I love New York City.
Yeah.
I absolutely I romanticize New York City in my book. Like the second chapter is me going to New York City to kind of get lost in it in order to deal with grief, right? Grief, loss.
Right. Yeah.
So how would you say, what makes New York City different from other kinky cities out there?
You have, everybody here is driven, and I don't want to say everybody, but you have people are more driven and more intense here. They're definitely looking to have peak experiences, push the envelope. So people that I meet that come to see me, the activities they want, but also the stories they have about what they've done are a different level of intensity than I've experienced other places. And I enjoy that kind of edginess of people here, right? Yeah.
I noticed that. Noticed Times Square. I grew up. I was born in '75, right? So the '80s and the '90s, Times Square was a whole different animal back then. You know, it was dirty, it was disgusting, and it was beautiful. But
you don't want to go there now for different reasons.
Yeah. Now it's like the M&M store. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not. I don't like crime or anything like that, and I don't like the horrible things aspect. But just the change in the of it is noticeable.
Yeah,
it's very noticeable.
Right.
So that was not my next question. First of all, how long have you been in New York?
So I've started coming here in 2017, and I would just come here occasionally and work, and then I moved here during the pandemic.
You moved to one of those crowded cities in the world during the pandemic.
I did, because well, what happened is I got a pile of cash from unemployment, and I'm like, now's my chance.
Right on.
And the rents were accessible, and so I'm like, yeah, going to New York. Plus just the way I was at a transition point in my life, and it seemed like a good time to move here for me.
What's interesting about New York for me is it's constantly evolving, it's constantly changing.
Right.
I mean, even just fashion, it changes within the day, right? But so throughout the year, so you came here in the height of pandemic. Now it's after the pandemic. I had a liver transplant at the height of the pandemic.
Wow.
And the world is so different now. Just my world. I can't imagine what you think of how New York City has changed. So how would you say the city, how's kink culture in New York City changed since you got there?
I mean, I was coming here before the pandemic, so to work. So I saw it, before 2020, coming here during 2020 and 2021 when it was empty, that was just surreal. How has it changed? I'm not sure. I'm not sure I have a good answer for that, because I don't feel like I have enough history, right? I have, a 6 or 7 year history of coming here. I think the pandemic slowed down a lot of events and activities and things that nightlife that was happening, and that's just kind of starting to come back over the past couple of years. But as far as my clients, I don't see a noticeable change.
I'm gonna take a little.
Tell me what you think, because I'm interested.
I think it's changed dramatically, but also in the fact that because I had a liver transplant during the pandemic, I haven't been back, like really back to the city. Like I want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So there's that. I do want to take a little, we were talking before, and I set up all these questions about Tantra and hocky, which I totally want to do. Absolutely. I totally want to do it. But you know what? You have a love for horses. So I'm going right for it. I'm going improv. Yes. Horses. Let's talk about your love of horses. Let's talk about, and even pony play and everything like that, if that's a part of it. But would you agree horse people are a little different? They're,
absolutely.
Yeah.
No. Absolutely.
All right.
I mean, great. Yeah, that is in good and bad ways, right? I mean, horse people like to play with power, and there's a direct, parallel there. There's a portion of horse people that they like horses because they can't function it with regular people. So they have their horse, and that's their, connection. And then there's another portion of people, that really do like power and powerful things and, living on the edge and taking risks and, and that's a whole other different set.
So here I popped some questions.
Sure.
Okay, here's one. So check this out. You've mentioned that you have years spent training horses and working on farms, and
Yes.
right? Right? Would you agree?
Absolutely. So,
but how do you apply this to your sessions, right? How do you apply all this to your sessions in BDSM?
So, I started figuring out pretty quickly. People would comment how well I could read them or how when I touched them, it felt different. And I was thinking about why. And when you work with horses and you work with animals, they don't tell you anything about what's wrong with them or what they need. You have to be able to read it or feel it or see it and adjust and figure it out. And so my skills of knowing how to know what somebody needs and the direction they need to go, a lot of that started by working with animals, and then also just I know how to train a horse, so training is training. You're teaching and walking somebody through something, knowing how to break it down and work them towards something is it's the same process.
Out of all of the kind of or the fetishes of dominate, the roles, yes, the role play that a dominatrix
Right.
and a submissive can play. We could say pony play or sissy.
Yeah.
Let's say sissy. Let's say or gimp. Any kind of role. What role do you think the whole horse, besides horses, besides pony play, what other fetish do you think your knowledge of horses really translates the most to when it comes to training?
Well, what's this? Oh, training. I was going to say what it's influenced the most is all my medical play, because all the medical stuff that I know how to do is because I've been, giving injections and doctoring on animals and taking blood. And so all of that has directly influenced, and I love medical play because that is directly related.
Shout out to Stan Vladimir, our art director. He loves medical play.
That's medical play.
If you're watching this, get your questions out, Stan.
Yeah, medical play is one of the kinks that I really enjoy and love and don't get to do nearly enough of, because I don't really market myself that way at all.
Okay.
So I'm always really excited when I get clients that want to do things along those lines.
Let's go back to horses. When it comes to discipline,
right?
Patience, that's required for horses, right?
So,
how does that translate to basically control and trust in BDSM?
Right. So I'm very used to leading this, large skittish animal and keeping the animal grounded and calm and working it through, whatever emotional outbursts it's having so that we can go jump this big jump or whatever it is, that we're doing. And so being able to, just like with a person, being able to see them say, so slut training, but they've never done any kind of anal play, calming them down, getting them relaxed, starting with a small plug, working them up, and then that play between, the fear. I don't do this with horses, but I do with people, the fear of you're going to take a little more, but then keeping them relaxed, and you kind of, ride that wave with people. With horses, it's that groundedness. You can't play with fear with a person if you don't have a grounded container to start with, though.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because let's say you're a horse person, you have an affinity and appreciation for the majesty of horses, right?
Right.
Shout out
Mhm.
to Madam C. She's another one. She enlightened me
Plus,
to the
right.
beauty of horses. Do you treat puppy subs and puppy play subs differently than you do other subs, or
Mm,
horse subs, or animal subs?
so I haven't done a whole lot of animal play. It used to be a, a, a boundary for me.
Really?
I didn't like doing the animal play because it was such a big part of my life, and I couldn't quite figure out how to sexualize the animal play. And then a few years ago, that started to really shift for me. And it's interesting, with how long I've been doing this, when, things shift,
Mhm.
still fascinates me. And I've started exploring it a little bit more, but I've just started within the past like 4 or 5 months marketing the equestrian side of me and the equestrian photos and the stable boy. And so that is a new kind of avenue for me, which I'm pretty excited about and interested in.
How
Um,
about this? Do you
yeah.
have a stable?
Sorry.
If you have a stable, I think you should set up a camera, right?
Yeah.
Just at the stable, one shot.
No.
All you have to do, you're a dominatrix who you talk about horses. That's
Right.
all. That's all it is.
I
And
know.
who knows? You can get, seriously, the horse people will love it.
I
You can get
know. I've
sponsors.
seen it.
You
Yeah.
get
I
sponsors
mean,
by everything. Yeah.
right. My
Let me
issue
produce the
is
show.
here. My issue is here. The stable where I go and ride got all
Private.
kinds of people in it. I
Yeah.
can't do that. Back in Oregon, I had my own farm. I could have done all kinds of stuff there. I'm like, why couldn't I have been into this when I was back there? Now I'm here. So I don't have quite the opportunity, but something could
Yeah.
come into my life where I'll have a space where I can make stable content, because I would love to make stable content,
I think you should. I
stable
definitely
boy
think you should.
content. Yeah.
Stable. Oh yeah. That's
It would
awesome.
be fun.
All right,
And have
let's go. Let's
my
get into
program.
tantra.
Yeah.
Let's get into the tantra a little bit. Can you please share a bit about your journey into becoming a tantra practitioner?
Sure.
How that goes hand in hand. There are a lot of tantra, people out there. I could see right through them. They're fakes. They're using tantra. They're like, oh, you can have 8-hour orgasms, stuff like that. And they're kind of using it as a culture, as a not. I mean, as
Well,
a
it's a way to market, right?
yeah, as a way to market. That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
Right.
So you are you're the real deal. You're on another level. You're not one of these people.
I mean, yes and no. I don't have my tantra training. I don't have official certifications or anything. So I haven't gone, to Thailand or whatever to study with, some, but as far as um understanding the philosophy of it, and
Mm-hmm.
um helping people get into their bodies and feel themselves and become much more in touch with the sensations that are going on inside of them. I do a better job with that than I've seen, other people execute, I guess.
Okay.
But the way it is, so I started this journey with BDSM, and then as I was, I'd been practicing BDSM for quite a while before I started learning about Tantra. And I'm like, these two really can feed each other if
Yeah.
you combine them, because with the centering and the connection and the dropping into your body that you get with Tantra, um, teaching people how to do that in a BDSM scene, that's what allows them to process trauma, or learn about their shadow side. And those are the things that start healing people.
Yes. So you mentioned that you explore dark shadow personalities in your work.
Right. Exactly.
So please tell us about that. How does that help, your clients?
So I took some notes on this because I knew that you would ask this question. I wanted to make sure that I expressed it thoroughly.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. That's awesome.
And I'm putting on my glasses. So when I originally started with BDSM, I came to BDSM because it was fun and I got a thrill and, it was exciting. And then for years, I kind of kept on that. And I'm like, and I would ask myself, what is this thrill? What's going on? And I think you get two different answers with that. You either get, for people, it's a way for them to numb out and I'm having fun. This is exciting. This is distracting me from this shit that's going on back here. Right. And so that's people using it as a distraction or just a way to like blow off steam. For me, I realized it was because I got to have these voices and explore these voices that I wasn't exploring in my everyday life. And so the power and the influence, these like darker parts of me, the sadist, they started to have an expression and a voice. And for me, that was liberating. And so the more I studied that and kind of learned about our shadow voices and how our shadow voices and our unconscious actually control us, and all of the destructive things that we do when we're in conflict, and later we're like, why did we do that? Why did we say that? It's our shadow that is acting out, or our inner child that we've never spoken to acts out. Our unconscious controls us. And until we learn what those things are and kind of come to terms with them and face them, they're going to keep interfering in our lives and the things that we want. And we're going to keep repeating these toxic patterns over and over and over again. And so then I really started thinking about how can people take BDSM and start to use the Tantra to get somebody connected to their body and what they're feeling. And then you start talking about some of these different voices. And I have pages on my website where it just lists all these different roles and little snippets about what that role was. And you read through those. I know, and I realized that the links aren't working very well. But if you go down, I'll show you where they are. Go down further, all the way at the bottom. There's a list of links at the bottom. There you go. All those pink. Oops, nope. Back the other way. There, right there. Okay, so you see over on the left, you'll see, where is the first one? Okay, Shadow Queen. It's towards the bottom, right? So that's one of them. So then scroll down, and this talks about this archetype, and you keep going down, and you'll see a list of roles, and so these are like the different, if you click on those, it gives a little, open it up, and it gives a little story. So you get somebody in their body and they start reading these and they figure out which little role play they connect with, what interests them. And usually what that is it's their shadow connects, and that there's something that they can learn there. And so if you act it out and people know how to feel, I teach people how to feel into their body and open up to it and not brace against it. And then people who are really smart take that information and they go to therapy and they work with a trained therapist on integrating their shadow voice into their real life. I mean, I'm not a trained therapist, so I can, help a little bit with that, but you're going to do better seeing a therapist.
Wonderful. Stan Vladimir comes in. I knew it. What is your favorite medical roles? A dentist, a veterinarian, mad doctor, or naughty nurse?
I mean, it's mad doctor for sure. For sure. Mad scientist, mad doctor.
It's alive.
I know. I mean, all of those, I would have fun with. But mad doctor, I'm going to do all these crazy things to you and needles.
Stan Vladimir continues. Have you used the blood pressure?
I have not done that. I just usually choke people out. I use my hands. But that would be fun. That's a good idea.
In your interviews, right? In your past interviews, you've talked about that you use BDSM to heal past trauma.
Right.
So everyone deals with trauma differently. Everyone's trauma is unique, right?
I mean, most people just shove it away and don't deal with it. But
yeah. So how do you do you have an approach?
I mean, first of all, I like if somebody comes to me and they want to explore a trauma, I do like to make sure that they're already in therapy, because I don't want to open up some, big wound that I am not trained to deal with.
It's also very kind of you, and to have the foresight to do that, to exercise.
Right. I like to, make sure that they have the support system to deal with, whatever it is. But it is very similar to the shadow work. Most people don't know how to sit with their uncomfortable feelings, right? So they have anxiety, they get anxious or whatever. And so then they avoid whatever it is, or they shut down. And so teaching somebody that emotional pain and physical pain, they're all just sensations in their body. And teaching them how to open up and sit with and process that pain helps them start to process their traumas. So say somebody has a rape fantasy, right? And they were raped, or there's some trauma around rape and they want to work through that. First, I teach them, how to feel in their body and feel the sensation. It's a 20 or 30 minute process, just getting somebody to drop into their body and be able to feel sensations. Once they can do that, you start bringing in some of the emotion of the trauma, and you teach them to feel those emotions as sensations in their body, and kind of give them some resourcing tools of how to feel and process and sit with those emotions. So people who are interested in BDSM often, especially people who have been traumatized, they know how to handle physical pain, and they don't realize that physical pain pathway is the same as emotional pain. And so they're like, oh yeah, I can handle pain. Well, physical pain, but emotional pain, they won't even look at. And so teaching them that they can process it in that same way helps them start to face the experience.
Speaking of processing pain, before we go on with the fun aspect of the interview, let's process some pain real quick.
Right.
What was the last song or movie or book that made you cry?
What made me, I'm sure it was something
or
recent.
Cheer up.
I'm sure it was something recent, but speaking of blocking things,
Right? I
I'm
had a
like,
liver transplant. I'm watching hospital stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I can watch this.
right? I know. What is gosh, it was something recently too. And I can't remember what it was. I'm sorry.
It's all right. We'll get back to it. Let's talk about slut training.
Yeah, there we
Right.
go.
You've discussed a specific practices like
Okay.
slut training and tie and tease. All right. For anyone who sees slut training, and I'm going to put slut training in the summary either for clickbait purposes, but I want to really know what's slut training. Take us through the process of what slut training is.
So with slut training, first I like to understand somebody's motivation for wanting slut training. Because do they want to be humiliated for being a slut? Do they want to be celebrated for being a slut? Do they just want all the fun, kinky sensations of orgasm control over and over and over again? Because I have to understand, why it is that they want it before I kind of make my plan for how we're going to get there. So for a lot of men, the slut training, they want to take bigger and bigger cocks and like maybe get up to taking a real cock. But like I can't even get my finger in them to start with. So there's a process of getting them to relax and deal with their shame and deal with just the practicality and the enema and this and that. And then, you work them up with the plug and it a lot of times it can't happen in one session. You can't go from finger to, dildo in one session. It's a process to get somebody there.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
It's a process. It's a process.
Right.
All right. I'm starting the quotes already.
It's a process.
It's a process. All right. You know what? I started when you agreed to do the show, right? I started, I do research because I wanted each show to be unique and everything like that. And, there's the horse thing,
right.
which is a connection, right? I love horses, but there's something else. Oh, there's something else that both of I love. And we love for different reasons, I think. Hockey. I like hockey.
I love hockey.
I love hockey for the culture, for the stories, for everything. I don't follow it at all. I'm not a sports person, so I don't know who does what. I know Wayne Gretzky, right? But
his record's been broken. So
oh yeah. What I'm saying is I love the fire of hockey. I love the fire on that ice. Seriously, the fire in their hearts on their ice. It's not just the violence; it's the lust for winning,
right?
And
right,
the accomplishment. Let me tell you real quick about this show called Shorsey. Have you seen Shorsey?
I haven't. I mean, I know of it, but I haven't seen it. And it's a spinoff from Letterkenny, so. Yeah.
It's Jared from Letterkenny. And when I got out of the hospital, Shorsey just came out, and it's about a losing team, right? Who Shorsey basically is a very violent, gruff French Canadian hockey player, and he just will not lose. And it's all the women are gorgeous, right? Everyone's hypersexual, so all the jokes are very hypersexual at the same time, but it's all about not losing and just trying like desperately to win and hating losing. So I'm sitting there in the hospital bed, and like this is giving me the spirit. It's like I could do this. I could get my life together. I could score a W. I could score a W.
Miracle, I assume. Did you watch Miracle?
Oh, of course. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about hockey. How has the philosophy and culture of hockey influence your dominatrix role?
Oh, so I grew up in Michigan, which is why I love hockey. And I didn't start playing hockey until I was 20. My sister's 7 years younger than me, and she started playing, and I watched it, and I was like, all I had done were horses up to that point. I'd never played a team sport, anything. And I watched her. I was like, I must do that, because it's the same thing. It's the speed, it's the strength, it's the skill, it's, all of that is happening, all at once. And hockey culture is really interesting because there is bad hockey culture, but then there is really good hockey culture. Like, there's things you don't do. You don't hurt somebody that's smaller than you. You don't, you only pick on people that are on the same level or above you. There's an etiquette and a culture that I really respect. And it is the not giving up. My dad coached me when I was younger, and he would always say, well, there's lots of things he would say, but ones that I remember is if you come out of practice or games and you say, I didn't fall down, you weren't trying hard enough. You weren't, you're not risking yourselves, then, you're not trying hard enough. And it really just doesn't hurt to fall down in all that hockey gear. So
yeah, look at that way. It's, you know what? I'm really glad I asked this question. And I am so glad that you answered it that way, because think about it. Kink culture and hockey culture, they're both cultures of not giving up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So let me ask you this.
You're going to play on the edge, in both.
How would you make a hockey themed BDSM scene?
Well, there's a couple of different ways I could go with that. I mean, it would be just kind of fun to tie somebody to the, net and just shoot pucks at them. It would be even funnier if I had a hard shot, which my shot is kind of marginal, but I mean, they could have a helmet on, but maybe not. I mean, like, I don't have that hard of a shot, so I'm not going to break anything, but it would be terrifying.
Yeah.
I'd give them a helmet. I mean, that would be fun. There's
so that goes to the next. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I think that question was what I was going to talk about next.
Oh, please do. So yeah, if you were going to create a BDSM scene inspired by a hockey game, what elements would you include to set the mood? So okay, let's say that you got a sub in the goalie, right by the goal, tied up.
Mm-hmm.
Would you have? We could do a whole bunch of things. You could have other dominatrixes. Check them.
I think you could do a really funny cuckolding scene with.
Let's go into this.
I think you could. That just struck. It's really funny because I didn't even think of that before. Might get inspired. Yeah, you've got this sub that's tied to the net that you're shooting pucks at, and then maybe you've got your like big cuckold bull guy that's there that's also shooting harder pucks at them, and then you do. I mean, there has to be sex at the ice rink, right?
Yeah.
You get the Zamboni involved, and I don't know. Sex on a Zamboni, that might be a new bucket list item.
Right up, sex in a Zamboni. The Zamboni dom. The
Zamboni
dominatrix.
I haven't had. I've had baseball players, football players, and basketball players. All at the professional level as clients, but I've never had an NHL player as a client, and I am like, that is a bucket list item for me. If I could just have an NHL player. I had a college coach once as a client, but that's a bucket list item for me. Anyway, I went off on a tangent.
So while you were doing that, while you're going off your tangent, I wanted to, help with your
Yes.
fantasy. Right?
My
So
cuckold fantasy, my hockey.
no, I just wrote into Grok. I wrote in generate image of Zamboni dominatrix. And
That's too small of a Zamboni. My Zamboni would be much bigger than that.
your Zamboni is gonna be bigger, I bet. Yeah, your Zamboni will be much bigger. Thank you very much.
I love
that. All right. So if you could incorporate hockey, all right. Let me ask you this. I'll take myself out of the screen because I want to give you this really. What has been the most rewarding moments of your career, whether it's client breakthrough or personal milestone?
I think anytime I've got a client that, and it doesn't happen often enough, but anytime I get a client that realizes how their inner voices and their shadow voices have been affecting their everyday, and how much damage they've done to their lives by not turning towards that and facing it, where they've avoided looking at themselves. And anytime that a person has an awakening in that area because of scenes that we've done, that to me is like my biggest win, because then they're going to go out hopefully into the world and bring less pain and suffering into the world, because they're going to deal with themselves. So for me, that's like the most heartfelt,
I love that.
Part of
I
the
love
work.
sharing about that. I
But
really do. We have a question that I forgot to ask. Yeah. Any specific hockey-inspired rituals or aftercare that include post-session, bring the scene full circle? And the reason I ask is because hockey is filled with rituals.
It is.
After the game. I'm very OCD, so it's like I have rituals myself. Right?
I'm not. I'm the opposite.
So you don't have any? Okay.
Well, I was really thinking, because there's so many things that I do like that I could do subconsciously that I could have picked up, from hockey. And I was trying to think, after the hockey game, you go back to the locker room, right? And you break down the game, and this happened and that happened. And it's probably like that in a lot of sports, but this whole like locker room talk after the game, and then we all go to the bar and we, have drinks and talk about life and the game and whatever after we play. So the habit I have, I think, after a session is to connect with people and my friends and whomever, and this happened and that happened. And if I don't get some kind of connection after a session, I really can feel my, I'll have a drop. I'll have that kind of top drop and that crash. And so that's important to me, to connect.
We have some questions about, let's see what we got here. First of all, we love Shorsey, huh? Soft shot hockey CBT.
Oh, yeah.
And Vladimir says the Femdom hockey team.
I wouldn't want to play on that team. That's another thing that's funny about hockey culture. So I grew up in Michigan, played hockey in Michigan. I played on women's teams in Michigan with women who grew up in hockey culture. Okay. And that was great. And then I moved to Oregon. and I played on women's team there with a lot of, some women have moved there from places where there's hockey culture, but the other 50% did not grow up in hockey culture and would do all kinds of, they were brutal, you know, and I'm like, well, you can't do that on the ice, or you can't, they didn't have any sense of ethics or hockey culture. And so I hated playing with the women. And I switched to playing on the men's teams because all of the men who played there all came from other places, and there was that hockey culture. And I wish I could define it better. I wish I could explain it to people who.
There's a movie called Goon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Eugene Levy's actually in it, and it kind of, even Liev Schreiber's in it too. Sean William Scott, and it's kind of captures it in a way, I think. But Shorsey really does, in a kind of beautiful way.
In a different way. Yeah, that one I haven't seen, so I can't tell you. But it would be fun. But I think that there would be a lot of there would getting a bunch of femdom women out there that are ultra competitive and sadistic. Ouch. I don't know if I want to play with them.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Just so you know, this stream is messed up. I sent you the wrong link. You are on the weekends link for the Y Art Society obsessed with their own buttholes. So
oh well, all my friends are not watching, I guess. All my friends that were excited to watch are not watching. That's okay.
I'm very sorry about that. That was
maybe they went to the website and got on the correct.
It's all right. We got a good crew here. We got a good crew here talking. Yeah. But that happens. I mean, all you have to do is follow the page. I don't know what I'm gonna do for weekends though. Anyway, so okay, let's push forward. What's your favorite medical procedure during medical play sessions?
I mean, I love to play with needles. That's, if I get to play with needles and poke people and weave them and make things bleed and, create fear and havoc, that's my, and I laugh just like this the entire time I'm doing it.
That's important.
I laugh a lot in sessions. If people who are like, you're not mean and straight-faced enough, I'm like, yeah, you gotta find someone else for that, because I think this is hilarious. That's who I am.
Yeah, I mean, especially like if you're like brutalizing a cock or a balls or something like that, it's one thing to like have that done to you, but have someone laughing at that while they're doing it is a whole.
It's a whole other level of humiliation too. But I'm laughing while I'm doing it.
All right, if you could have any superpower, what would it be, and how would you use it in your kinky life?
Convince people to let me stick needles into them. Everybody would want needles. No. My superpower. I mean, I love power and power play, and also the more powerful the other person is in their real life, so the more grounded they are and present, and the more energy they have to exchange, the more I enjoy playing with them and having influence over them. So I think my superpower would be, has to be something in that area with drawing more true. When I say powerful people, I don't mean like the powerful politician. I mean people who truly are grounded and present and healthy. Drawing more people like that to play with me.
So we do have some problem solving questions. I did redo them, but but just this is an important one. A
Yes.
client comes to your dungeon high or drunk. What do you do?
I send a whole letter out before I see anyone that specifies not to come drunk or high because we won't play, because I can't read you if you're drunk or high and you can't feel things. And so you sober up and, you're like, what did I do? Things just can go really wrong with uh, intoxication.
Yeah.
So I haven't had anybody show up. I'm trying to think. Not since early on have I had somebody show up drunk or high that I was able to figure out that they were drunk or high. I mean, people probably come with a drink or two and I can't quite tell, or high, I bet.
Another problem solving thing I
Right.
want to do is the ultra needy, the people who
Yeah.
you've changed their life,
Yeah.
Goddess Viktoria Sway. You've changed their lives, and
Yeah.
now they owe it to you, and they owe that, and they need to be your slave 100%, 24/7. And then you want to move in with you and and serve you 24/7. How do you deal with that?
Well, really good with boundaries from the beginning. And so people who are really needy and want that, they don't last very long with me at all, because I don't feed that. I don't give them an inch from the beginning. And those people, they sense it and they go away. Um, I I am very kind and open, but I'm really clear on, this is our container and that's, it. Um, and I think the clearer you are on your boundaries up front, the easier it is to deal with people who don't want, people who don't want to listen to boundaries. People who let them slide a little bit, then they keep pushing and pushing and pushing. If you don't let them ever slide, then they don't push. They go away.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's talk about sadism. Why?
Why? Because it's fun.
Yeah, that's a good answer. What was the last time you were impressed by sadism, either your sadism or someone else's?
This story sticks in my head so much. I was at a party with another pro-dom that you've had on your show. Jade Desires.
Oh, I love Jade. Yeah. Shout out to Jade Desires. Yeah. What a man. Oh my God. I love Jade Desires.
Love Jade. Yeah. So I was at a party at her house, and there were several of us other pro-doms there. And I think it's Domina Lux. She's from, I don't know if it's Domina or Mistress. I don't know why I'm blanking on that. Anyway, she's from San Francisco, the Bay Area. She was there. And she's just really petite, tiny, beautiful. And she had this guy tied to, I don't know, cross or something. She was working on him for a long, long time. And she comes out of the room and she holds her hands up to me, and they're like, all her knuckles are bruised and swollen. She's like, look what I did. And I'm like, I gotta go see what the other person looks like. She's like, well, I punched him in the ass for like a half an hour before I even started with the other stuff. And I'm like, okay. And I just went in there, and his ass was just like this thick, swollen, purple, how you probably know how it can get when it's just been like 2 hours of every item and tool. But I think what was so funny about it is that she had like sacrificed her hands to her sadistic endeavors with this guy.
The struggle is real.
I know. It was great.
Shout out to Jay Desires. Oh, I can't wait for her to come on our show. Her and Anastasia, they're on the show together, and great friends. Magnificent. She's a muse. She really is. Every time I speak with her, I'm inspired. I get this energy to, you know. She's like a kinky muse.
The thing I love about Jade is she's a badass dominant, but she also switches. And so like I've played with her and she's so in her body and she can feel everything and you can feel that she can feel. And it's just like, it's such a hot exchange when somebody is so present in their body and can feel everything that you're doing to them.
When she's on the show and she starts telling her stories, I get very cinematic in my head, right? In the scene. So I have this scene of like her in a dungeon, and one of her things that she loves to do is deny and say no. So her just like going her head with that smile, that beautiful smile she has, just like no. As long as I'm not the one being said no to, right? But so watching her say no to other people is like watching like a ballet or something. It's like art ball.
Saying no is also sadistic fun, right? It's like no, we're not going to do that.
Speaking of no, let's talk about cuckolding, right?
Yes.
It's pretty wild that throughout the years, the older I get, more of my male friends, now that they realize what I do,
right?
At first, they make fun of it. They're like, "Oh, you're a kinky pervert, whatever." They're like, "Oh, there's a whole scene. Do you know anybody? Maybe you could introduce."
Like, how can I know.
So, but one of the things that they kind of confess, you know what, Nick? Do you know anybody who knows anything about the cuckolding fetish?
Right.
Yeah, because I love that.
Do you think that's
that's what they say?
But do you think that is because I'm curious because I just get to talk to the people who come here, and you get to talk to like a whole bunch of more people that aren't necessarily kinky. Do they just want to be voyeurs, and so it's interesting because they actually get to watch sex happen, or do you think that it is the whole humiliation aspect of it that interests them?
That goes to the next question. Men seem to love the cuckolding more these days. Why do you think that is? I think, for me at least,
pressure on them.
There's that. There's also, I love the sissification narrative. So with femdom and like
I mean that's it can be with or without that, right?
And I was trying to wrap my head around that, and I was really trying to understand that, because a lot of the people I know who have open relationships, they had like the people who like they started open relationship with, either they were problems or they like fell madly in love with them, right. But one of the things that I noticed is that some of the people, they want their partner to feel pleasure, to be happy. So any kind of facilitation of that, right, is being a part of it, So it's almost like a tension from being ignored, in a way. That's a stretch, but still, does that make sense? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I was thinking about that. There's so many different ways you could go with that, because there's the if they just get to watch their wife have this experience and get fucked by some hot guy or their partner or whatever, it takes the pressure off of them, right? And so men are under so much pressure these days that having some of that pressure relieved, I think feels good. And so they can still vicariously have this sexual experience, but not have the pressure to perform or, make it happen. So I think that is one reason that people like it.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
but the other thing is um, the humiliation aspect of it. I think that is a emotion that people don't get to acknowledge and explore, right? And
Mm,
so if you're doing a cuckolding scene, you can really acknowledge and explore humiliation, not being good enough, all of those inner voices that are in your head. Um, they can be explored and experienced, and you can be humiliated and still be loved, and or realize that those voices, they aren't true. Like you can explore a lot there. um,
mm.
and then with the sissification, so for me, I well, that is a limit for me. I won't feminize somebody and then humiliate them, because
That goes into my next question. Yeah.
yeah. So
How's your attitude towards sissification changed, or
yeah,
what is your attitude towards it?
it's always been that way because um, I celebrate the feminine, and it is never humiliating for somebody to want to explore their feminine energy, and nor should it be humiliating to explore feminine energy. So for me, that's a boundary. I really like to help people um, be able to be expressive and colorful and makeup or hair, whatever it is, and
And that
find joy in feminine.
that goes to my next question to Mr. Shari, a very, very,
Yeah.
very good friend of mine. We shout out to Mr. Shari, Catnip, everybody at Mischief Manor out there.
Oh,
We have Sissy Charm School and everything like that, but
right,
one of our main things is to not have the degradation of it.
right,
So
right.
how can we explore sissification without degrading womanhood? Like the
I mean, I
whole.
think that's the whole thing. Is it's you dress somebody up and you're like, that's hot, that's sexy. How do you feel in that? What's it feel like to wear that? Do you feel
Mhm.
do you feel like slutty in that? Is it, yeah, it's taboo, but that's great. You know, you just
And everyone has a different kind of style too. I think
right,
when it comes to the sissification narrative and the whole thing, I mean, if you do want to use humiliation, degradation, that's your thing. But like even for me, I'm locked right now. I'm wearing a corset, garter belt, stockings,
I like
unpermission,
that.
all right now. Yeah.
Right, but
Uh,
that is like being bound, right? You like that compression.
yes. Yeah. It's not a gender thing actually
Right.
that much for me. It is. It plays like because I love women. You know what I
Right.
mean? So and
It celebrates
fem.
women, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean I and it's the connection. I don't necessarily dress up. I don't dress up alone or anything like that. It's all part of the narrative, and not that there's anything wrong with it or anything like that. I'm just saying that's my narrative,
Right.
right? That's yeah. So
I think that's it.
everybody kinks their
Some
own way.
people like the sissification, the feminization because they love women and they're like, I want to be closer to this. I want to be a part of it. I want to,
Yeah.
you know, or I think it also helps them. It is part of a a protocol or whatever you want to call it that helps them transition into being kinky and slutty. So they put on these clothes and it helps them get into subspace, or it helps them shift their mindset from, man going out into the world or whatever into, okay, now I'm playing.
Yeah.
So,
and okay. So let's get back to some of the other questions. As the world is changing, how can kinky people survive?
I mean, I just don't think it's going. I don't think it's going away. I don't think it can go away because you just see more and more mainstream shows. I mean, they're not well done, but they're not quite true. But Hollywood's trying.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to go away. The internet is here. Part of the problem is that the way it is depicted is so far from reality, and so I hope that continues to shift. But I don't think it's going to go away. There's going to be some shifts. I mean, I'm one bad video away from getting thrown off of OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Because my content is not appropriate for OnlyFans.
What is the content that got you in trouble in the past?
Oh, I did a video of what can I stick up your ass, and it was not sex toys. It was like candlesticks and I don't know, wine bottles, whatever. That got me in trouble. It's usually some sort of violent thing. I don't know. And then once I got on their radar, it was like everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I think I tried a like mommy dom thing. Can't do that. I'm like basically, and I don't have a whole lot of content. I would like to make more content, but I don't have enough energy for it.
Yeah, it's going through. It's like dealing with the FCC.
Yeah.
Of what can be said on the air.
So it's
speaking of Yankee candles, though. Yankee candles, those big ones. Were you using one of those big ones?
I was using. Well, I can't even remember what I was using now. But what I threatened to use is I have these tall gold, like pokey, long candlesticks, and I was like, "No, I'm going to use this," but I didn't use it. But I did use a wine bottle, which is dangerous. Yes, I know the glass could break. Yeah. I was careful. It was in a condom, anyway. Yeah.
I have a friend, shout out. I don't want to say, I can't say her name. She's a vanilla person, but
oh yeah,
she's a nurse, and she said you'd be surprised. People come in with those Yankee candles stuck in there, and they can't get them out.
So I grew up. We lived in Michigan, but from age 7 until 13, I lived in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and my mom was an emergency room nurse, and she would come home and tell stories at the dinner table of what they had to pull out of men's asses. And I'm like, how did I end up this way, Mom? I had no idea.
What was the thing? What was the wildest thing that you remember that she pulled out of someone's ass?
Well, I do remember her talking about a light bulb that broke inside of someone. Yeah, that one I was like, and there were several, but now I can't. The light bulb one sticks with me. There are other stories that now I can't remember if they were stories she told or stories that I've heard, from other people, or other things. But I remember the light bulb one. There was something else. There's something else that was stuck up there, and they did the X-ray and they found whatever it was, and it was some weird object. But yeah, we had this. I can eat and I can hear any story, and it doesn't bother me because of my mom telling these stories.
Speaking of family, all right.
Yes.
This is the show. A lot of people are dealing with shame in their family, and
Right.
they come to us because we're their kinky friends.
Right.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's dealing with shame in their own family?
Well, which is funny because even though my mom used to tell these stories, she was one of the first people that found out in my family what I do. And it was an accident how she found out. But she was just, she was not good to me. Her response about it. And it was very difficult for me to say, yeah, she's like, you're she said, something about how I was stressed and had anxiety, and that's because of what I'm doing for work. And I said, no, it isn't what I'm doing for work that's the problem. It's people like you who are judging me for what I do
Yeah.
for work that is the problem.
Right. Yes. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for
Yeah.
saying that. And you know what? I usually start every show with this weird, I do the, this is consensual adults thing, but I usually stop, like, end it with stopping it in this weird note saying, don't judge. And I'll start
Right.
talking to the audience, be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Why?
Judging people. Like, not go on with the show and just go on with this rant about you being a judgmental.
Yeah. I'm like, what do you care what I'm doing or not
Yes.
doing, with other consensual adults? Like, why are you going to make me feel bad about this? But I think that's like that. The whole thing with shame is, again, it controls people because they don't even understand that's what's going on. It's so unconscious. They're doing this, they do it, they leave, and then they have all these bad feelings. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. If they could just label that and acknowledge, oh, this is shame. Am I really ashamed of this? Like, if they can just first label it and acknowledge it, that helps them not let the shame control them. But also, it's this whole like shadow voice unconscious thing is when if you make an appointment to go see a dominatrix, and you're in your clear-headed, okay, I know people don't like this, but I'm interested in it. I want to do it anyway. This is a choice I'm going to make. You go, you enjoy it, you leave. You tend to not have shame about it. But the people who are compulsive and they're like, oh, I want to do this, and they make the appointment, and you can feel all the nervous energy when they come here, and they do it, and they hurry out. They have so much shame because they didn't consciously make the choice to come see me. They were driven to it out of a compulsion. And so I really try and slow people down and help them realize what they're doing so that they don't go through that whole shame cycle. And that they realize that they're making a choice and it's okay. They, just because they're doing this, it doesn't say whatever about any other parts of their life. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. Sunshine wants to add in about the femdom team. What about a femdom team versus a team of sissies? It would be so unfair, but it'd be fun to watch.
Well, it would be funny if they were like the team of sissies were actual hockey players that we got to dress up as sissies first and then send them out on the ice. And so then they wouldn't be people who are normally sissies, but we would make them sissies and then see if they could still play while wearing all that would be fun. I don't know.
Someone's gonna get punched in the petticoat, right? So
exactly.
Dom Cummings asks, Goddess, what are your thoughts on sweaty, smelly foot worship? And do you offer these sessions?
Well, yes, but I need lots of notice before I can offer them because it is really hard to get my feet to smell bad. I have to wear socks for a couple days and, go to the barn and rain. Yeah. So if anybody knows any tricks for making my feet smell faster, that would be awesome. But
yeah, we have some foot smelly feet people on the show.
yeah,
We do.
yeah.
Outside of kink BDSM, what hobbies do you have? Yes, we talked about hockey.
Hockey, horses, those are my two. The horses really take a. What's really funny, one of the reasons I wanted to come to New York City was so I could start riding competing horses at a high level again. Everyone's like, wait, you moved to the city? But to do that, but I can work here, and also just outside of the city is some of the highest levels in the country of, trainers for the type of riding that I do. So the horses take up quite a bit of my time now. Other than that, I really just like to enjoy the city.
I love the city. Okay, New York City. First of all, what part of what borough are you in?
Well, I'm in Manhattan. I'm like right in the middle of Manhattan.
Money making Manhattan. I used to. Oh my God, what is? It's always changing, but there are some spots, and there's some spots that I hold close close to my heart.
Yeah.
What are some spots in New York City that you like really hold? You romanticize almost, that you love. It doesn't have to be like this crazy elegant spot. It could be seriously, it could be Washington Square Park. It could be.
I mean, I like to walk on the river walk.
Oh yeah.
I like walking through. It's really funny. I like going to Chinatown, and I will. Chinatown's crazy, and so every time I go there, I'm like, wow, there's everything here. But I like to make bone broth. Oh, yeah. And so, when I lived on a farm, we raised a lot of our animals. And so I would make real bone broth all the time. And what I love about New York City is I can go to Chinatown and get bones. So from the shops there, like I can get the chicken feet and the, pig's feet, whatever. And I can make all my own bone broth. It's like the city cracks me up because I'm like, you get everything here.
What's awesome about New York, I love about New York, is that you could be the most interesting person on the planet and you're still boring to other people, someone else. Right?
There's
and people, also,
yeah,
you can walk, you could like literally see the most interesting thing that you've ever seen in your life
every day.
All you have to do is just turn your head just a little bit and you'll see something even more interesting.
Right.
That's, it's,
like it's every day changing. You're like, wow,
yeah.
I just saw that again. Wow.
So lifestyle wise, the city does get to you. It's, first of all, it's expensive, it's noisy. Sometimes, depending where you are, it can be smelly, it can be dangerous. And also the culture, the lifestyle of just the BDSM culture and everything like that. So was there ever a time you felt burnt out, felt like you needed to give up? Obviously you didn't. So what happened?
Yeah. There was a time a couple of years ago. So when I first came here, I did okay for the first year and a half, 2 years when I moved here. It was slow, but I was steadily growing. And then all of a sudden, my business really dropped off and I wasn't very inspired. And I was like, I guess I'm done. I'm going to have to, go move back to wherever. I'm like, I guess this is over. And, I talked to a therapist and I talked with him quite a bit, my friends, and I had surrendered. I wasn't even anxious about it being over. I was just kind of like, I guess this ride is over. And my therapist encouraged me to fine tune my voice and really just figure out what it was that I liked about my work and what I wanted to do and what my voice was, and to make sure that my website and my marketing reflected that. And it was really interesting because we talked about this a little bit at the beginning. I realized that my marketing was just trying to attract everyone. And I thought that if I talked about this shadow stuff and this deeper work, that nobody would want to come see me. And so I didn't even really talk about it or have much on my website about it. And I'm like, well, what do I have to lose? And I changed all my website and my marketing and really started thinking about what I wanted to say about that. And since I've done that, it's like my business took off, and I kind of was re-inspired, because I also was really bored with the sessions that I was getting. You know, it was just kind of this repeat, you know, strap on session, maybe a tease and denial. Like, it was just the same session over and over. And I was bored with it. And so this new way of marketing has attracted in a lot more of variety, but also it is so much more like who I am and what I want to do, like helping people find out who they authentically are and have a avenue for it.
I think that's the coolest thing, because thank you for telling that story, because I'm all about people finding their voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And becoming who they are. And the fact that, thank you for telling us that story. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Platforms are constantly changing. No one's on MySpace or Friendster. Twitter's now X. And, you know, stuff like that. So where are you these days, and where do you think you're going to be in the future?
I used to market myself on OnlyFans, but since they told me I'm one bad post away from getting that canceled, I just don't do anything on OnlyFans anymore. So Sex Panther is probably the main platform I am on. I'm really trying to get my loyal fans going, but I just don't have enough time to put into doing that. I mean, on X, I have a pretty significant free feed, you know, that is up on Twitter. That there's a lot of content comes out there. But if you want to talk with me, you go to Sex Panther or Loyal Fans. I have content for sale on just about every site out there. But those are my two big ones. Yeah.
What was the last dream you remember?
Just my recall. It's just not very good. I had a dream. This is hilarious. I hope this person doesn't listen to this interview. I don't even know if I could tell this story. I had a person that I was dating that was the whole like ass to pussy licking experience was mind blowing. It was amazing. And I had a dream recently of him doing that to me again. And I was just like, damn. I could just have that one more time.
Dreams inspire. Seriously, they do. Oh my God. When I was, yeah.
And then, you know, like I have nightmares, but I had that amongst the nightmares. So that made me happy.
All right, pegging. I want to ask a major question, and this is for the weekend show, which we're on this stream. So we may expect some people, because our show's winding down, but so we may get some people just coming up for the butthole show.
Okay. I can talk about buttholes.
Oh, we got it. So pegging. We have the question. And this is a major question that we're coming up for the major show, which is like kind of free for all. People, all the other DOMs could come in and just answer this question.
Okay.
Why are men so obsessed with their own assholes?
Well, I mean, I think there's several reasons, but one of them is like nothing is taboo anymore. So the only thing that's left is the asshole that's taboo, right?
Yeah.
So, so that's the, like, anybody who wants to explore any kind of vulnerability or, you know, any of that, the asshole is all that's left, really. Um, I think that's part of it. Um, also, it's like if you can accept this part of me, my ass, then you can accept, you know, all of the other ugly parts of me. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, but also like anal stuff just for men feels really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It like the whole prostate orgasm, all of the sensations. I mean, that feels amazing. If you can get somebody to relax and accept it, it does not mean you're gay. It just means it
We
feels.
have a question in the chat.
Yeah,
This is not in the chat. Someone texted me.
it's fine.
Do you get anything out of pegging? If so, what?
I get multiple things out of pegging. I get, at a minimum, I enjoy like pushing somebody's buttons and having them feel the pleasure and getting that experience. Um, but also the power exchange with some people, you know, where people who have real power to exchange, when I peg them, you know, you feel that power exchange, that they're submitting to that and they're vulnerable. And so I get a lot out of that. And third, like people that you have a real connection with when you peg them, like that is just like phenomenal, amazing, sexy, that
Yeah.
that they're submitting to that and letting, you know, they're making themselves that vulnerable. And so then I really feel a huge sexual charge from, you know, pegging someone that I have chemistry with.
Wasn't it the Dalai Lama who said you don't know anybody until you fuck them in the ass?
I don't know. Did that happen?
No, I think I got the source wrong. It's not the Dalai Lama. It might be
I
someone
don't
else.
think that. I don't think that's real.
Let's talk about chastity. Guess what, everybody? You can get 15% off of all chastity devices at
Ooh.
lockandlust.com with offer code YKF. Get yourself a vice. It's a great according to Chastity Queen, the best chastity device is the one that fits.
Right.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
One that doesn't fall off.
Yeah, what about plastic, silicone, or metal?
I have yet to have a silicone chastity device stay on, but that could just be a fit problem and that I have to try harder. I tend to like plastic because, or like the molded. I guess I've had the molded silicone ones, but you know the soft silicone ones.
Yes.
The molded hard. Yeah, is that? I can't tell if that's plastic or silicone.
This is plastic.
Yeah. So that one is those like that is the ones I've had the most success with, where people can wear them longer term. You know, you don't have to worry about airports or whatever. You can pee, you can exercise, they're lighter weight. I mean, for play, I love the metal cages because, you know, they've got the weight to them, and the ones that have the spikes on the inside are my favorite. I know. I'm a sadist.
I'm a sensualist. So.
Yeah, I am. So me, I'm a sensualist. Like, don't do anything painful to me. But
we're not putting a spike chastity device on you.
No. So I'm really good at playing with people that are not masochist because I am personally essentialist. So I fully respect all boundaries of people that don't want to be hurt and enjoy
So
play.
you have empathy.
Yeah,
You have empathy.
I'm like,
Yeah, I get that.
I don't want any of that either. I completely get that.
I get that. Like, as I'm flogging someone, like, you know, I it's not as painful as it is. We want to have a good time and enjoy it. You know, you know what I mean? So, okay, chastity.
Yes.
Is anyone locked right now?
No, I don't have, I would love to do more key holding. I don't have, I have lots of people that are locked, you know, for like a week before the session. They come for the session or days or the day of the session or at the session. I do a lot of that, but I don't have a lot of long-term key holding. I don't market that enough. You know, you can only market so many things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And your site was Viktoria Sway NYC.net?
It is NYC Dominatrix.net.
That's it. Okay, because I want to bring it up on the screen for everybody to see, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So how long, when you lock someone in chastity, when you have locked someone in chastity, what's the longest you've locked them up for?
Well, I had a partner once that I would lock up for long periods of time, you know, and he would just get let out when we played, and then he would be locked up for weeks. He'd be locked up for weeks, and I'd let him out when we played because I'd let him fuck me, but then he'd get locked back up again. And that's fun.
Yeah. All right, without giving too much away,
Right.
you know, your personal life, are you currently living a BDSM lifestyle?
I mean, I'm currently not in a relationship, so no. And it is in the past 10, 15 years, everybody I have dated has been at least kinky. They all haven't been submissive, but they've been kinky. And some have been subs, and some, you know, have been switchy. And usually it's not like a 24/7 thing. It's a in the bedroom play. They've had some where it's been, you know, the dominance has kind of been a threads through the relationship, not, but I don't like the 24/7. It's not my style.
Yeah. Even with, I mean, I'm a kinky person to the core.
Yeah.
But, you know, I got to go to the bank and the supermarket sometimes, you know? I can't do it. I can't do it if I'm all kicked out 100%, right? You know,
well, I mean, yeah, you can.
But I mean, I meant that as like a, you know,
right, figurative,
joking way.
Yeah.
The figurative way.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. What's your favorite style of music to listen to during sessions and aftercare?
So it's usually like it's kind of like the old trap, like the Massive Attack and that kind of stuff, or house. Those are kind of my two.
New York's got music, that's for sure. Massive Attack's amazing.
Yeah.
The Mezzanine, that album, Mezzanine, especially Exchange, that final track on it. On Mezzanine is pretty beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, there's great stuff. That's my main. I mean, it's a pretty predictable answer.
All right.
Like.
Recommendations, and they don't have to be kink related. Okay. They don't have to be the be all end. They don't have to be the be all end all. Okay, these are just recommendations. Something that you think maybe I'd like, or that the listeners would like. Recommend a film.
I mean, I loved Poor Things.
Oh yes, yes.
I mean, like everybody should see that, in my opinion.
Amazing. Willem Dafoe is incredible in that, and
yeah, I mean, everybody was. That was just Yeah.
The director of that movie did some amazing work. To Kill a Sacred Deer,
Yeah.
he did Dogtooth. He did, yeah, he did some pretty amazing stuff. I
Yeah.
know there's a friend of mine on the show. I don't want to, put her on blast or anything. Who's a very, very powerful dominatrix. Brutal. She makes manginas for fun, right? And she was like it triggered her, because
Yeah.
the themes of that movie are very
Yeah.
intense, especially
Yeah.
exploiting some, yeah, oh my
Weakness
god.
and yeah, no. It was a lot. It was a lot to think about.
Okay. Recommend a book.
I mean, I think everybody should read and reread and reread Existential Kink. That is like one of my favorites.
Recommend a song.
Oh. Hosier B. I also like Hosier for Arsonist Lullaby.
Oh, yeah.
But B or Arsonist Lullaby are kind of Hosier is a favorite of mine.
Oh, we have similar taste in music. All right. Recommend art. Any medium. Recommend art. Any medium. Any living or dead. Any person. Just art. Recommend art.
This is where I'm going to take a big left turn here, and,
Right.
and you're going to be like, what? Like ballet. I love ballet. I love to watch people dance, like the discipline and yeah. Also, my mom forced me to do ballet until I was 13 years old, like 5 days a week. But
have you seen the movie Black Swan?
yeah, a while ago. I haven't seen it.
Well,
It
yeah, ballet. It's Aronofsky.
Yeah.
It's about ballet. All right. Recommend a meal.
I mean, I don't know, pizza.
Yeah,
Can't even really eat
perfectly
pizza
meal.
anymore because I have celiac, but I love pizza. I mean, there's okay gluten-free pizza, but
all right,
pizza.
now we're gonna do the association game. The word association game. It doesn't have to be kink related.
Okay.
Everything I say is going to be either a word or a phrase that is kink related. Okay. So if I say chastity, you may say lock, right?
Okay.
But let's say you're thinking about pizza. If I say chastity and you're thinking about pizza, the object of the game is to say the first thing that comes into your head. So if I say chastity, you can say pizza. There's no wrong answer. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Then there's the jar. I don't know what's in this jar. So there's a bunch of pieces of paper in this jar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then we got the chat. So we're in this together. Okay. All right. Ready?
Yep.
All right. Okay. French maid outfits.
Ruffles?
Chastity.
With cage.
Splashing.
Cake.
Knife play.
Fun.
Blood play.
Also fun. Messy.
Wax play.
Messy. Hot.
Leather gimps.
Mysterious.
Pony play.
Funny.
Adult babies.
Butt plug tails. Yeah, adult babies is hard for me. No.
Okay.
Yuck.
Right.
I don't know why.
All right. Face slapping.
Fun. Yes.
Fisting.
A challenge.
Furniture. Human furniture.
Human furniture, like footstool.
Yeah, footstool. I should have said that. It kept the alliteration. Fisting. All right. Piss.
Golden showers. Yeah.
Dan Vladimir says ball gags.
Lots of spit.
Medical play.
Needles.
Sensory deprivation.
Ooh, mummification.
Teacher's pet.
Needs a spanking.
Mummification.
That's where I like to cut that open and do some CBT. in the
yeah.
Just cut open the spot. Teasing.
Vacuum beds.
I wish I had one.
And finally, we've reached the end. No pun intended. Scat.
Yeah, I don't do scat. It's for other people.
All right, no worries. Nicole, winding it down.
Yeah.
How can kinky people make money?
Well, it depends if you're a male or a female, right?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, as for a female, it's, you know, you have to have a craft and present it to people and have a, you know, a voice or something to say, bring something to the table. For men, it's harder. You know, hosting spaces, safe places, things like that. I don't know. It's a lot harder, I think, for men, obviously, to make money in kink.
We're all looking for something. Where do you want your kinky path to take you next?
So I was in Oregon before I was moved here, and in Oregon I had this community of just really amazing kinky sex positive friends. They were, I mean, I'm still connected with them. They're very like wonderful, super supportive people. And since I've moved here, I have not developed a community here. I think because I've been riding horses so much. And something that I have realized that I need very much here is to create more community, and whether that's, you know, me creating a space or classes or something that brings people together, or me just like, you know, getting out more and meeting more people. I'm not exactly sure what that avenue is, but I would really like, I think more community is the next.
I am so glad. I'm so glad you came on the show. I'm so glad that we met. I'm so glad that you're in New York City. I'm in New Jersey. Oh my God. Our forces to join. We're gonna cause a problem. This is gonna be great. Finally. Please complete this sentence.
Yes.
Life is
an adventure, which is a cliche, but I mean, like, people who play it safe, I just don't understand. Like, God, like, it's just, we're here once. Do it all. Right?
Yes.
Learn how to be your best self, face your inner demons, take on the challenge, you know?
We are not promised tomorrow, people.
Step out of your box. Like, just.
How can people get in touch with you? How can people support you? You know?
Everything's on my website. So I really try and the nycdominatrix.net, and you can find out from there anything you want about me. Has all my links on there, my email, how to schedule sessions.
We are keeping the stream going because we have some guests. We have our show coming up.
We have a whole show now.
We have a whole show, and oh my God, the goddess Viktoria Sway, please stay on, and you could, you know, if you have to go, please, you could. I understand that.
I need to eat some dinner.
Of course, everybody out there, please go out, read a book. Your Kinky Friends. Go to yourkinkyfriends.com. Get 15% off with offer code YKF at Locked In Lust. Read some books. Go to yourkinkyfriends.com and support Goddess Viktoria Sway. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I enjoyed this.
I have. Oh, it's going to be a great week. Everybody, be cool, be kind.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Take care. Good night.
Bye.